This is a 225 Q&A practice test. Plaintiff attorney Mr. Crane, capital C-R-A-N-E. Defense attorney Ms. M.S. period Davis. And we'll start with the plaintiff attorney. Ready? Here we go. Mr. Herman, how are you employed? I'm employed with the Orange County Sheriff's Department. And what rank do you hold? At this present time, I'm a deputy inspector for the department. On May 5th of 2005, what rank did you hold at that time? I was a patrol sergeant in charge of the 4 a.m. to noon shift. On May 5th, do you recall getting a dispatch call or direction to go to a property known as the Rose Junkyard? Yes. Did you go to that location? Yes, I did. And do you recall about what time you arrived at that location? It was about 11:03 in the morning. At 11:03 on the 5th of May, tell the jury what you did and what you saw. At that point, I went down Rose Road, had information about the Hall car missing and that it was located by a search party in the Rose Junkyard. I drove down into the junkyard near a car crusher where Sergeant Orr's car was parked, and that's where I stopped with my squad. I met with Detective Roth and we went down a path to where Sergeant Orth was. We proceeded towards the Hall car to identify if there was anything in the car. Detective Roth and Sergeant Orth walked up to the car and I stayed just a short distance behind them away from the car. About how far from behind the car did you stop? I was out of reach of the car, anywhere from 3 to 7 feet or so. My question is, were you close enough to see what Detective Roth and Sergeant Orth were doing? Yes. Did you keep constant visual connection with both the car and with those two gentlemen at that time? Yes, I did. Did you see either Sergeant Orth or Detective Roth either enter the car or otherwise disturb the car? No, they did not. If they did, would you have seen it? Yes, I would have. Now, Mr. Herman, on the property or at your location at that time, did you see a man by the name of Agent Link? No, I did not. Did you see a man by the name of Sergeant Cole? No, I did not. You would know these two men? Yes, I do. If they would have been there, would you have known them? Yes, I would have. After Sergeant Orth and Detective Roth completed their inspection of the car, did you see what they did? Yes, they walked back out away from the car towards me and we walked away from the car. Okay, what did you do then, Sergeant Orth? As we were walking out, I had Sergeant Orth stay within view of the car. He was about 30 feet away from the rear of the car so he could keep visual contact with the car and make sure it wasn't disturbed. Myself and Detective Roth walked up away from the scene back towards where the squad cars were parked by the car crusher. Are you familiar with the term scene security? Yes, I am. And which officer was most responsible for securing the fort or keeping scene security at that time? When we left Sergeant Orth there to keep visual contact, he was mainly in charge of watching that car. I guess what I'm asking to clear up for the jury is, that was Sergeant Orth's main responsibility from what you knew at that location at that point? Yes, that's what I am asking at that point. Yes, was that responsibility, that is scene security, sometime shortly thereafter turned over to a different department? Yes, it was. Which department was that? Orange County Sheriff. And after being turned over to Orange County Sheriff, did your department, that is the Orange County Sheriff's Department, ever reassume responsibility for the scene or scene security? No. Mr. Herman, were you involved in the decisions or the discussion of turning over responsibility of this investigation to Orange County, or was that done by somebody else? Yes, I was present during this exchange when we spoke with Sheriff Page. Let me just ask, about how long after your arrival at that scene was it that Orange County officials arrived? About 40 to 45 minutes, 11:40, 11:45, I believe it was. Any time within that 40 or 45 minutes that you were there before Orange County arrived, did you see any officers or any citizen for that matter either enter or in any way disturb that car? No, nobody disturbed that car during that time. That was something that was important to you, is that right? That is right, yes. Why? Because it is a car we were looking for potential evidence. We didn't want to disturb it. Did you have time, Mr. Herman, to meet with and speak with either Sue, Beth, or Beth Stark on scene? Yes, I did. Describe their demeanor then, if you recall. They were very shook up, very upset that they found the car. Now, do I understand that Sergeant Orth was already on scene when you got there? Yes. Who was the second officer to arrive? Was that you or was that somebody else? Me and myself and Detective Roth were there right at the same time. You know, shortly we would have been the second officers on the scene within minutes. We were there after Sergeant Orth. Can you tell the jury, please, who other than Sheriff Jerry Page of the Orange County Department. In fact, the sheriff, other than Mr. Page, who was involved in just deciding whether this investigation or the scene would be moved to another agency. Deputy Inspector Schiff I spoke with, he in turn would have been in contact with Inspector Herman of the Orange County Sheriff's Department. I had gotten that information from the Deputy Inspector because he discussed that matter with me. All right, so you had some input into that decision, is that right? Yes, I did. So, Mr. Herman, the scene or integrity of the SUV being Sergeant Orr's responsibility, was Sergeant Orr provided with any relief or any breaks while he was on that location? Yes, he was. And who gave breaks or break relief for him? I did provide 2 breaks for Sergeant Orth during his visual observation of the car. While giving those breaks, did you keep constant visual contact then with the car? Yes, I did. At any time during those 2 brief breaks, again, did any individual citizen or law enforcement officer enter or touch that car? No, nobody disturbed the car. All right, we do have a word list. Herman, capital Hermann. Orange, capital Orange. Rose Junkyard, capital Rose, capital J on junk, capital Y on yard. Hall, capital Hall. Roth, capital Roth. Link, capital Lenk. Cole, capital Cole. Orth, capital Orth. Ford, capital Ford. Page, capital Page. Sue, capital Sue. Beth, capital Beth. Stark, capital Stark. And that is it for the word list, and that will conclude our 225 Q&A practice test.